Hey everybody, welcome to Love and Reload, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I am so blessed and honored to be here today with our wonderful guests. We've got two extremely impressive ladies who've got brilliant minds in the field of global immigration. We've got Gabby Bachhuber, global immigration specialist at Rockwell Automation. We've got Mariela Benitez, immigration attorney. I'm just so excited to have them on the show and hear what they're thinking about and just kind of get to have this really cool conversation. But before we bring them out today, I want to go ahead and remind you that we are doing a Move for Hunger t-shirt promotion here. So if you want to, Janet, go ahead and throw up the link there. If people want to go ahead and get a Love and Reload limited edition t-shirt, they can go to the link, which is tinyurl.com/love and reload t-shirt. A $35 donation will get you this t-shirt, and it's really, really cool. Trust me, I was wearing one yesterday like all day long. My family kind of got tired of it. So go ahead, check that out. Support Love and Reload, support Move for Hunger. 100% of the proceeds goes towards Move for Hunger, and it's a great cause. So without further ado, I'm going to bring out our guests here today. We've got Gabby and Mariela. How are you doing today, ladies?
We're well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm blessed and fortunate as usual. You know, I even got the coffee mug if I forget. You know, I'm doing excellent. Now where in the world are y'all sitting right now? I think you might be giving me a little bit of a hint there, Gabby.
Yeah, I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Just enjoying the nice sun we've got, and excited for this show.
Yeah, well, it's good to have you too, because we've kind of met each other via LinkedIn, and you're super active in the comments, which is great, and I appreciate that so much. I appreciate your support and your interest, and I'm really excited to kind of like finally get to talk to you and have a conversation. So thank you for being here today.
Of course.
And then Mariela Benitez, where in the world are you sitting right now?
I am in the DC area, Northern Virginia, near Arlington at the moment. Good day here, scorching hot, waiting for fall to come.
Scorching hot in September in DC, really?
It's crazy. It's in the 90s.
Oh my gosh, you gotta chill. You gotta chill. It's like 66 here in Detroit. We're loving it right now. It's great.
Send us some of that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. We got people checking in right now. Go ahead and leave a comment. People are coming in on LinkedIn. Come on in. Go ahead and hit that like button. Drop a heart there for Mariela and Gabby. Go ahead and give yourself a shout out there in the comments. Stand up, be heard. We're also going to take questions as well. So if you have immigration questions or things that are on your mind, or if you want to hear opinions from some of these bright minds that we have here today, go ahead and leave those here. Let's see what people are getting into over here. We got people dropping ridiculous comments over here about God knows what. Simon Johns, hi from Aqua Moving Services and Clearview Relocation in the UK. What's up, Simon? It's Jen and Tonic Time out there. Let's see what's going on, Gabby. Great to see you on here. That's from Roman Zalchenko. Nice.
Wonderful.
What's up, Roman? Good to see you, buddy. Roman and I had like the world's longest DM today. Tim Rambo, hello, Gabby and Mariela. Greetings from Arizona. What's up, Tim? Elena Anderson Delay. Good to see you, Gabby and Mariela. Looking forward to a great discussion. Elena's in your neck of the woods, Mariela. She's in the DC area.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. See here, Rob Mazel. Hello from New York City. Ben Cross, Gabby and Mariela. What's up, Yolanda? Hello from the Netherlands.
Wow,
sweet.
Great.
Please, could you send some sun over this way? See, that's the thing, though. What I'm learning doing these now and talking to all the Europeans and everything and the Asians, they don't have air conditioning. So be careful what you wish for, Yolanda. Okay. You don't got aircon over there, as they call it. Carmen, super excited to hear from Gabby and Mariela. That's awesome. All right, cool. Francine Dresty checking in from the Lou. What's up, Francine? Shout out to Janet, super producer Janet in the background there. I always like watching Janet smile. I can see her in the background over here. Do the t-shirts come in muscle, extra slim fit, just dreaming? Hell no, Simon, they don't, man. Do I look like a guy that makes slim fit t-shirts, man? Get out of here. I got my own problems, man. Why would I make more problems? Let's see here. We got Stephanie Ortiz Manami. Great to see Gabby.
Perfect. Yeah, great to see you.
Look at all the support we got going on here.
Right. Great.
So for people that don't know your stories, I'd love to hear just kind of about your story, you know, and how you kind of got to where you are, you know, and found your passion for global mobility and immigration. And Gabby, I'm going to start with you. You know, would you share that with us?
Yeah. I love this question because I love this career path, and I think there's so many directions that it could take. For me, I studied, you know, global relations or international relations in college, and afterwards I went to the Peace Corps so I could live abroad and experience another culture, and just something different for me and to experience that. So after coming back, I just wasn't sure what to do next. And there was an opening at an immigration law firm. And I thought, I didn't know what immigration law was, like a lot of people that I meet. I mean, that sounds like it could be a lot of different things, perhaps, but I took the job and loved it. And I loved the law, the legal part, but I think I loved working with the companies so much more. And working with the HR teams that I worked with as a paralegal was just really exciting and a fun career path that I saw that they had and certainly that I had. And I went to a very large law firm for immigration, and that's where Mariela and I met.
I was going to say, how did y'all meet? So tell us that story.
Yes. So we were both working U.S. immigration primarily. I think that was both for our focus. And we worked just on all kinds of different fascinating cases with really great companies and really great lawyers. And I think for us after that experience, we took two different paths, but still very rewarding paths. And I think I'll let Mariela tell her path, but I went in-house and went in the company direction and worked within an HR function at a few different large companies. And where I am right now, again, very large company, worldwide operations, and within the HR space. So that's where I am today. And yeah.
So what made you decide, okay, you kind of came to this fork in the road. What made you decide to go onto the corporate side versus the lawyer side?
That's the question of my career, I think, because
why did I do this?
Agreed. Because for me, law school was something I thought about a lot, and frankly, I still think about. It's a interesting path, but I think for me, I wanted to have the experience of working with a lot of different stakeholders within a company, and I think for me, what I saw with the people I worked with who worked in companies is there's HR, but there's also in-house legal, corporate tax, marketing, branding, talent. And it's just all of those different functions coming together to work on challenges and opportunities was so exciting to me. That's really why I wanted to take that step.
And so, Mariela, I want to ask you, because at one point, you know, when you and Gabby met, and then we talk about, you know, Gabby's path, right? Mariela, what made you want to pursue the law angle?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think Gabby and my stories are similar up until the point that we were working together at the law firm. I believe, Gabby, that you stayed there for a year, maybe a year or two afterwards. In 2009, I think it was, I was interested in the HR aspect of it. I said to myself, you know, I'm a paralegal at this position. I feel like that's the limit to where I can go at this point. I want to broaden and develop my experience and my expertise. So I thought I will go into, I worked for Beth Israel, which is a hospital in Boston, and I accepted a job as an in-house immigration specialist at that point. So Gabby stayed with the firm, and I think a few years on, she moved on to her global mobility function. But after a year at Beth Israel, working in HR, I decided to go back to law school. At that time, the legal aspect of it was more interesting, I had more curiosity for it than the HR side of it. So I went to law school, returned to Minnesota, and ended up clerking for a law firm in Minnesota. in immigration, and I became an immigration attorney.
Okay, awesome. And Gabby, I met you because you like to watch the show and you get active in the comments, especially if it's an immigration topic. And that means the world to me, your support and just being on there, and you ask phenomenal questions. And I think it was one time somebody was on, I forget who it was, but you were asking like such great questions. They were like, is Gabby a lawyer? Gabby really knows her stuff over here, you know? But you're super active here. But I mean, what else is it about LinkedIn, and what else do you follow on LinkedIn, and what type of content and creators do you really like to watch?
Yeah, I think the first thing I definitely want to say is this show is so important for global mobility professionals. I mean, certainly RMCs and other partners too. But I can only speak, from the global mobility perspective, that I feel like this show really brings out some good information and good engagement of people in our field who, as you've said before, Ben, who we can't go to conferences right now. So how do you bottle that feeling of going to a conference and seeing your colleagues, your friends? And I think this show does that really well. So that's why I want to support.
Thank you, Gabby. That means so much to me. I'm getting emotional over here.
So I definitely wanted to say that. But also, LinkedIn is, for me, just as a professional and as a person that's curious, I follow so many different people, from not only immigration attorneys, but other global mobility immigration specialists, to brand specialists, marketing, diversity, equity, and inclusion. There's just so much that you can learn and find out about on this platform, that it helps me not only in my job to understand, especially new developments is in U.S. immigration, global. It's late breaking news. Feels like a lot, especially during COVID-19. But it's just a learning element of all the people I try to follow and keep up with and support, so they'll continue that free content. I mean, it's free content that we can gather and learn from every day. So I love it.
Do you feel like the you said late breaking news. I mean, do you feel like just by the nature of social media and how it's crowdsourced and everybody has a voice and everybody can just put their opinion out just like that, do you feel like in some ways it's just more timely maybe than some of the traditional modes?
Yeah, I think there's a positive and a negative. So I'm sure, if there's people in the comments that can add their view too, but it's positive, more positive for me, because I see a lot of people sharing news, as you say, kind of in that moment, like, hey, this consulate is taking appointments, or hey, this consulate seems to be more active, and hey, they just announced something about national interest exemption or whatever. So I click on that, and I might research it a little bit to see if it's valid and accurate. But at least that first initial point of information reference opens a world to me that I need for my stakeholders internally, and certainly my colleagues and peers in the field. I try to, share good, valid information, because it is so urgent that we see this news coming out around the world, certainly in the US too. But yeah, I think that's right.
Mariela, I want to ask you, as someone who's practicing law in the field of immigration, what is nobody talking about right now? And I know there's a lot of content out there, but what are some of the things that are kind of maybe flying under the radar a little bit right now, or that you think maybe people should be talking more about?
Yeah, of course. So to add to Gabby's point about LinkedIn, Gabby actually got me involved in LinkedIn just recently, actually. For immigration.
Welcome to the party.
Yay! So much information. She would text me these points of information or these new policies or executive orders that would get passed. And I would be like, where are you getting this? We checked AILA, the Immigration Lawyers Association. I haven't heard of this yet. And she's like, oh, girl, I'm so active on LinkedIn. Literally getting it before the news outlet will get it. So I joined, and I'm very thankful for Gabby for being so involved and just so involved and curious about the news and information. But I would say for sure that LinkedIn is one of the quickest points of information. Of course, you have to verify and validate your information, but there are experts in the field that do have inside connections that are getting that information before any of the news outlets, before the executive orders are released, before they, the administration makes it public on ALA or whatever organization. So thank you, Gabby. LinkedIn is where to be right now, I think. But Ben, to your question, I think, when you think about immigration, or at least U.S. immigration, it's very divided. You're either pro, you're either against. I think what both sides don't see is the back end that is going on behind the scenes of any administration coming into power, right? There's the public information that they're releasing. There's the executive orders, the policies. What no one is talking about, I think, is how the administrations conduct themselves with regard to practicing or implementing the law. What directives are the officers on the scene getting as far as adjudicating petitions? It's just, it's very interesting. It's not black and white, obviously, but whenever someone tells me they're pro or against, in my mind, I think, wow, if you could just have an inside view of everything that, is going on behind the scenes like we do.
Give me an example, because I'm not as close to it as you, obviously, and so I don't understand the nuances. I'm probably one of those people that sees it as a pro or con issue, and I don't actually understand some of the nuances that you're talking about. So give us a peek into that. What is that? What do you mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think 2 points come to mind. One of the questions that I received from an HR expert, HR contact recently, as recent as this week, was, what's going to happen to the H-1B category? And I said, well, it's complicated. I think the question was, are there going to be changes to that? And I said, inevitably there will be changes, but it's codified in the law. This H-1B category of foreign workers is codified in the law. So there can't be substantial changes, but there are limits to what any administration can do with that category, because for there to be substantial action to this type of category that's in the INA, Immigration Nationality Act, there has to be an act of Congress. However, there are ways around that, like executive orders, like training the officers on the scenes, reviewing these applications. So I think what one pattern, for example, that I've noticed from this administration is executive orders are the new changes or the new law, as with any administration. But I think this administration has passed more than I can remember in recent years with regard to immigration policies, executive orders. And then one thing that everyone doesn't see is the training that goes on behind the scenes for the adjudicators making the decisions, whether that be, for low-skilled workers or asylum seekers in the United States, whether that be for H-1B or TN applications. Even though there is no change in the law, there is a way that the officers or the immigration staff is getting trained to perhaps scrutinize these applications more. So there's training going on behind the scenes that may not necessarily be law, but there's extra scrutiny or different extra application of the law, if that makes any sense.
It does, and I think in the way the law is applied and carried out is really in practice, what happens on the ground, and I think that goes back to something that Gabby was pointing out, like, hey, it's really important to know what individuals are doing, whether it be at the border, at the consulate, whatever level.
Exactly.
And I think it's so fascinating to me as an outsider who can't fathom that it would be interpreted any differently from one office to another office, or even within an office between different people. So I'm just gonna ask a question. Is there any repository or Slack channel or private Facebook group or something that breaks down all this information and puts it all in one place, where it's okay, go see Jerry at the consulate, wink, wink, and then do this, and then say this on the app. But is there a place where this information is housed, crowdsourced?
For me, and I think Abby, we have a paralegal in our office named Abby, so apologies, Gabby.
The G is silent, that's all.
Yes.
It's Abby. So I think for me, it's just really those connections with experts in the field. They're going to know through practice what failed and what succeeded for them. For example, New York was doing deferred exits out of the United States. So for example, that was the New York airport. So everyone knew that if your client overstayed their visa or couldn't leave the US because of COVID or because some other travel restrictions, New York was a place that was being flexible in allowing voluntary departures. So it's just, honestly, for me, it's word of mouth through the industry, what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's when, the legal team that we work with, our external legal team, may file a case and have a experience in that in their office or with that case, and they learn from it and quickly adjust for the next case and say, oh, let's make sure we do this because with this service center, it appears that they want extra information about whatever. And so you start, I think, with the practitioners who are filing cases, who are doing assessments, they start to learn from the situation on the ground, so to speak, and what's going on in the different jurisdictions or different offices, and they adjust. And I think that's what we have to do every day in this time. And frankly, maybe we've always done that as global mobility people. We adjust, and then come to a point where we are comfortable and confident with our next steps.
I just want to stay on this idea that I have because I think it's really interesting. But would there be a way that something like that could work where like you have a wiki or you have a Slack or you have some sort of a crowdsourced thing by immigration professionals? And if Roman's watching this still, I'm talking to you too, Roman. Because is there a place like where people could go in and just log their experiences? I applied for this, did this, and here's the result. And then you could sort it by location, date, etc., and have a repository, because word of mouth is fine. But how do you take like a million word of mouths and put it in one thing and create data around it so that people could actually use it? Is there a reason that couldn't work that I'm missing? I'm fascinated by this.
I think it's great. I mean, Mariela, the first thing that comes to mind is, different chat rooms. Honestly, like maybe the AILA, it has, and I'm not an attorney, so I can't, see the AILA, the chats, but I think like Worldwide ERC has really great, a community that people post questions and answers to. And a lot of those answers are so valuable because they give you an insight into one person's experience, and then you start to see people in the ERC community saying, "Oh, me too," or "Oh, I didn't have that exactly, but had something similar in this scenario." So I hate to say that we're doing things just based on the chat and the communities we're in, because obviously that's not the case. But as far as developing the strategies and approaches in this environment we're in, that really helps to kind of set our expectations and determine a strategy that is more likely to be successful.
I agree with you, Gabby. I mean, I think you're onto something, Ben, to be honest, because for immigration practitioners, there's a blog where you can ask questions or you can tell what worked, what didn't. It's under the AILA recent postings or the AILA recent communications posts. So people are posting on there. So I think what would be really interesting and really great to develop would be a combination of both. One where we could have global mobilities interact with immigration attorneys and vice versa. That would be amazing because the immigration practitioners don't know where the global mobility chats are or the posts are. And the, AILA, you have to be an immigration or you have to be an attorney to log on to that and be part of the membership. So I think one source such as LinkedIn, but for these two areas of expertise would be phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, it could even be a closed group on LinkedIn or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, very interesting. We got some people checking in here. Hey, if you just hopped on, go ahead and hit that like button, leave a comment. Love to have a question for Gabby or for Mariela. Let's see here. We got people checking in. Hosea Botley from Seattle checking in. What's up, Hosea? Arvinder from London. This is great. I love when the people from Europe come on. Lena Rekdal from Immersion in Stockholm. What's up, Lena? Let's see here. Hi from Canada. Who's the Canadian that snuck in here? I don't have it. No, I hate when the face never shows up. Never too much info these days. All right. Awesome. Gabby always has her ear to the ground. She's always in the know and breaks a lot of news to me.
Thank you.
Gabby, where are you getting this news from? Where's this hot news coming from, Gabby?
Yeah, I mean, I mostly get it really from attorneys I follow, different practitioners, people that share again on LinkedIn. I mean, I can't say it enough. It's just, and I could certainly drop a few names. Roman is a great example from a tech perspective and working with some of the top minds, talking to some of the top minds in the immigration space today. We've got just a lot of attorneys just either sharing or providing their immediate information to gain new clients, but to also help the space that we're in. So I'm not gonna give all my secrets, but
just keep it
is what.
Well, you mentioned tech, right? You mentioned tech, and I want to jump off there for a second. You talk about immigration tech. I know you're a fan of Alex Su's content. What's going on with immigration tech? Tell me where it's at and maybe where the opportunities are you think to
Yeah. So I'm glad you mentioned Alex Su's content. He's an attorney I follow on LinkedIn. I see a lot of his original content, and he had a really great post a few weeks ago. He's in the legal tech space, not immigration tech, but just kind of other areas of legal tech. And he had a really great perspective on technology in this space. And one of his points was that you need to identify the problem you're trying to solve, and it should be very focused. And I love that perspective because as I see companies going to new HR systems and certainly in my experience working with the law firm, working with different technology, that's a question that I always ask is what exactly are we trying to solve here, and how can technology help that and hinder it? We need to assess both sides and see where we're going. And Alex also pointed out the human element, as your great show yesterday discussed, that human element is so critical that you can't just rely on that technology to get the job done, but you need to integrate it with the human approach as well. And I think, these are, clear topics we all hear about, but I think it's important to just take a step back and really think about what's the problem we're trying to solve here with technology, because maybe it's not the right solution.
Yeah, you don't want to have solutions just for solution's sake, right? You want to actually be adding value. Mariela, I want to ask you a question kind of regarding that, right? So it seems like as I'm learning more about immigration, as I'm following more people, especially more creators, in the immigration space on LinkedIn, it seems like immigration tech is really on fire right now. It seems like it's a little bit, I don't really understand what the constraints are and what the hesitancy is maybe, or why it maybe hasn't been adopted earlier in this space. It almost seems like it's kind of like very fresh and burgeoning. But let me ask you as a lawyer, right? What is the role of people in the process going forward? What will technology enable you to do, and what will the person, the counselor, the lawyer, still have to do themselves? Do you imagine?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think in the age of social media, in the age of instant information like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, clients really want to have immediate information. They want their employees to log into a portal, see what happened to their step, have up to dates on, case statuses, whether that be where the firm is with the processing of a case, or whether that be what the immigration, requested for their case. So they want immediate, comprehensive view of where their employee is. The employees are requesting that. Oftentimes, the employees already have logged into a USCIS app and have gotten the information before these practitioners. We have to, I think, as attorneys, as practitioners in the field, I think what our HR contacts, our HR clients, and what the employees are looking for, as I'm sure Gabby will agree, is instant information. We have to catch up to that. Practitioners have to catch up to that, the age of instant information and instant communication. So I think clearly on that end, there's a lot of catching up to do. It seems very, very categorized right now with the immigration technology forums that are out there with excuse me, I'm not a technology person, but with the portals, and the different companies that firms use to program the information. It may not be something that is usable to the HR clients or to the employees. So we have to come to an agreement on that technology, and practitioners have to catch up.
Well,
Having said, sorry.
No, go ahead. Having said that, what?
Having said that, I think the attorneys are still very critical in this process with regard to practicing the law, pushing back on the government, pushing back or communicating with the embassies, understanding the law, communicating it to their client, and communicating the application of whether or not their employee will be able to move between their organizations and their entities, because it is an ever-changing landscape, as we know here in the U.S. I think that there will always be that need for the support and someone to interpret and apply the laws, because frankly, the HR contacts or the clients in these multinational organizations don't have time for that. They have an employee base that they need to communicate with and to support, rather than, and they're looking for the practitioners to help them understand what is happening on the ground.
So yesterday we talked about the digitization of HR and therefore global mobility, right? And the digitization means moving from, manual processes, right, to, digital processes, right? And basically kind of going paperless and using tools internally in our processes, and I've moved some law offices, okay? And I know y'all love paper even more than us moving companies love it.
Yes.
Let me ask you, where are we on the digitization of immigration law? Let's just keep it tight in immigration law, but where are we on the digitization of immigration law? Is some of this stuff still paper and has to be, or is it completely digital? Is it country by country? Like help me understand where we're at with that, Mariela.
Sure. So as far as the U.S. immigration system, we're very, very far behind, probably in archaic time processes. It's 95%, I would say 98% paper processing. We kill a lot of trees every day. And not by our request. And also, I think there's some comfort to using paper that the USCIS, probably the agencies, are scared to move away from, and the practitioners that have long practicing are scared to kind of move into this area of digitalized applications.
I mean, are you guys still buying those like bookshelves full of leather-bound books and being very proud to take photos in front of them and all that stuff? Is that still part of the culture of being a lawyer still?
I'm proud to say that record keeping has progressed more than filing the application. So record keeping has moved a little bit. So no more brown paper, thick 4 folders. But as far as making submissions to the agencies here in the United States, including the embassies, including the USCIS, including the court system, it's all paper.
Do you see that changing, or what has to happen in order to see that change? And I'd love to hear from Mariela and Gabby as well, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I think of is there's some countries that are very far ahead with respect to filing and having digital files and submitting petitions online, et cetera, or through an electronic system. I think Australia, somebody mentioned on one of your early shows, Brazil has an interesting setup. So I think we should just learn and see the experience of how other countries have gone digital in this space. But I think, to Mariela's point, it's absolutely true that it's so paper-based and original signatures on certain things, and you can't scan sometimes, and it's just it's a different environment for
How does
HR.
it improve? Like, do people go with like handwriting analyses before the judge and say, I can prove this was Mr. Cardoza's signature date? Like, what does it even matter anymore?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I think, it's always going to be some sort of archaic system, because with regard to mobility between different countries, there's always going to be that need for the adjudicators to see that person and communicate and interview that person or that employee in person. But I'm not sure about the paper filing.
Like, see them in person, like what? If they smell, you don't get in? Like, how does that, like, what's the point of seeing them? I don't even understand. Anyways, boggles my mind.
I know.
It just drives me nuts. But we've got a bunch of people checking in over here. If you have any questions or comments for Gabby or for Mariela, I'd love to get to those in the second half of the show. We're also going to talk about all sorts of really, really interesting topics. I mean, as far as stuff we've read in Harvard Business Review and, management and leadership styles, all sorts of stuff. Let's see here in the second half. We got Rory checking in. What's up, Rory? From Chicago. Shout out to Rory. Monica Musel checking in. Agree with Gabby. You always have to strategize cases based on the quote new trend within USCIS and the consulate. What is the deal with USCIS right now? I know that they were kind of defunding them to some extent. I don't know if that's the proper term. And then they held off. What's the status right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I just know the furloughs have been postponed. There were potential furloughs with the agency, but yeah, Mariela, what's your information telling you about this? Great question, because we all want to know: do we need to get everything filed right away, or given upcoming changes? It's hard to say.
Well, there was a big sigh of relief when it was announced on LinkedIn that the furloughs had been canceled and canceled until further notice. So it's not even just postponed. So it is a very rewarding and very enthusiastic turn of events. I think not just for practitioners like Gabby and I in the field, but for the employees as well, for the federal employment. I have a relative that works for the USCIS in IT or conference, and he was expecting to get laid off, but he didn't. Anytime any employees are spared from furloughs is good news to me. But yeah, I think if that would have gone through, the furloughs, it would have created a huge mess for organizations here in the United States, and of course for the practitioners and the attorneys in the field.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's see here. We got Rob Zeiss checking in. What's up, Rob? Karen, hi, Gabby and Mariela. Karen in San Francisco. Sylvia Rivas from Colombia, big fan of your show. Thank you, Sylvia. Sylvia actually messaged me. I was like, I can't wait for this one. Thank you, Sylvia.
Good. Thank you.
People are so amazing. I didn't know any of these people a year ago. These people are just amazing. I love all of you. Mark Topoleski, greetings from Michigan. What's up, Mark? You owe me lunch. Mickey Maher, good afternoon from NYC. Mickey, I think from Spotify. What's up, Mickey? Let's see here. Carmen, do you think law firms have a responsibility to learn about and advocate for technical solutions for their HR clients? Or does the push have to come from the HR side? Ooh, interesting.
That's a really great question.
We have both sides represented here, so debate.
I mean, I think companies, and I will take a debate about this, but I think companies are trying to lead the way with integration of new HR systems. Workday is one example. We're trying to do a lot of integration with relocation management companies through kind of this more integrated approach internally, and leading that path, and really maybe bringing, I don't want to say more traditional fields, because that's not always accurate. I know that's up to debate too, but in some respects traditional perspectives about information and how it's shared, which we need to think about data security and integrity. But I think HR and thus companies are trying to lead that way just internally. And I think other partners of HR clients are coming forward to meet us in that space.
I agree with you, Gabby. I believe that's a great question as well. I think law firms do have a responsibility to lead the change, but to partner with their HR clients and their HR corporations to lead the change and what the demand is from their employee population, and not just from the employee population, but from internal stakeholders like the managers. I think when the firms don't lead the change and don't partner with the HR contact for their clients, I think it appears as though if the firm is behind. It appears as though they're not caught up. When Gabby is emailing me, asking me how their employees can see real-time progress on their case, and I don't have a solution, or I'm working on the system and it's not caught up yet, it doesn't look good for the firm.
Sure. And I mean, and don't you think though, I mean, and I'd like to hear your thoughts, right? But don't you think though that change happens a lot faster when the HR folks are requesting and requiring this than when the firm is left to invest at their leisure?
Yeah, it's the incentive is absolutely created. I think, especially in the RFP process, I know you touch on that in a few shows, or you have touched on that. I think it's a great discussion of what is being created in order to sell great services to companies, and what's the impetus to create those technologies. And it is driven by maybe a demand from large companies. The only thing I would say is that as you discussed in a few of your shows, it's important to have a whole mix of offerings for a large company, certainly not just that technology and not just the people element too, I mean, that we talk about, but also that crisis management and that how do you get through challenges like we're in now? How do you work with HR to get through issues and challenges? I think it's really critical that those are mixed in too.
Cool. Let's see here. Lena Rekdal, Sweden is completely electronic since many years. Now, do you see this around the world where some countries are just like, yeah, we're electronic, no problem, easy peasy, right? And some are like, nope, come on down, wait in line, fill out 1 million forms. Like,
yes.
What's the difference? Like, what's the disparity? What drives that? And how can drive innovation in this area?
That's a great question. I think it might be a combination of the complexities of the immigration law. I'm not familiar with Swedish immigration law at all, but I would love to hear thoughts or to hear input on what the process is for filing applications there, even with regard to how the first question that pops to my head, of course, is that's amazing. But then second question is, how are these adjudicators or are the officers reviewing these? Are they just looking through an electronic screen, or do the officers at the agency have to print the application then? So I would love to hear how other countries are proceeding in electronic submission. I think, unfortunately, the focus in U.S. immigration right now is the enforcement and the limitations and the rules, the applying the rules and the passing of the rules. And our immigration system is such a mess. I think it's going to be a long time, unfortunately. And so the focus is, how do we process these cases? I think right now the focus is on enforcement.
Lena, I'd love to hear the process. If you wouldn't mind just writing it out, single in the comments, that would be fantastic. 100 words or less. That would be great. Thank you very much, Lena. Michael Quigley, hello from Silicon Valley. What's up, Mike? Who let Mike in? Mike's sneaking in here. Elena, not every employer uses an attorney or software for their business immigration needs. There are still employers out there who complete their applications by hand. Mariela, how do you convince nervous employers to partner with a law firm?
That's a great question. I think for Gabby's point, the main concern for employers, and likely I'm making an assumption here, for any smaller employee is going to be the privacy. The privacy laws, with HR, there's a lot of confidential information, with immigration as well, a lot of information. With digital age comes the risk of someone using that information for their own maliciousness, the identification stealing, those things that do happen. Of course, certainly understand the nervousness. I would encourage, there's so many advances to using technology. You have to, of course, have the secure software, and that's the first step, is to convincing the employer that the information will remain secure. I think the other advantage to it is real-time information, or information where the employee is not contacting the HR or pestering the HR contact for information, but can go into their own software portal and view that information themselves. So I think that will create a more efficient communication between the employee and the contact in the HR, in the immigration or global mobility landscape. I would encourage you, Lena, to, if you do know of an employer that's doing hand papers, it's much more streamlined, of course, using the electronic methods and using an immigration software program. Most of the immigration software programs I know are working on the security, or are focusing on the security of that information for their clients.
Yeah, I think the only thing that makes me think of is we're talking so much about tech, and it's super important and critical for our area and our industry. But at the same time, with COVID-19 and the impacts to travel worldwide and the complexity in different jurisdictions, having a trusted attorney and partner either on the ground or elsewhere is so critical. Like it's really not just, to me, it's not just about the technology. It's about like crisis management and problem solving. I really see that as so critical in a relationship between a company and their counsel. It's just critical.
Great stuff here. Thanks for the question, Elena. Donna DiGiovanni. What's up, Donna? Good to hear from you. Hello from hot and humid Florida. Does Rockwell Automation anticipate an uptick in extended business travel post-COVID? If so, do you anticipate more complexities in the management of immigration and tax compliance risk for EBTs, extended business travelers?
That's an awesome question, and I think it's so relevant in the groups I'm in with colleagues from around the country in different companies. It's this extended business travel and remote work that we talk about all the time. This is top of mind, these two different areas for companies around the world. And I think, it's something that we're thinking about, of course, and we have been thinking about even pre-COVID, and a lot of companies have been too. This is, I don't want to say the next wave, but it's something that we need to really strategize for in our programs and our policies and our guidelines, because having these assignments, these long-term assignments, I don't know if that's the future. And I think that's open for debate, and a healthy debate has been going on for since March on that. But I think extended business travel is absolutely something that is important and newer in this space to really get our arms around, from not only immigration, but tax, corporate tax, talent retention. Are we going to send our employees out on these long-term assignments, or can we just give them a quick opportunity to gain quick skills or to do a quick project and gain that knowledge of working abroad? And I think that's some of what I'm gathering from the question is, from an extended business travel post-COVID, I think a lot of my colleagues in the field are absolutely saying maybe that's what we need to do. It's absolutely a fair question.
Interesting. All right, we got some great questions coming up here too. I want to make sure I get to all of them here. And it looks like Lena did her homework for us here. Let's see. Did she do She did. She did. I love it. I love when you guys do this. You humor me. Thank you so much. Thanks, Ben and Mariela, for the question. Online electronic applications were implemented close to 15 years ago, which is excellent for all parties involved. It also prepared us well for dealing with a pandemic, and I must say I'm proud of the Swedish Migration Agency in this area. They are constantly developing the process. Putting together a perfect application is still an art. Filing it is easy, or filling it is easy. Please reach out and we can have a convo on this. She goes on to ask a question. Gabby does. I'm sorry, Lena does, of Gabby. What country do you think will be the first out with a real gig visa, remote visa?
I love that. Yeah. That's a great question. I was just on a, I think, View from the Top. Some of your listeners, you've been on it, Ben. So that's a great LinkedIn show. And they were talking yesterday about, I think it was Estonia released this like remote work.
Yeah, Estonia.
Yeah, they were I think the first, I believe in, but they've come back on that and said, we're not ready to do that. I thought it was Estonia. Maybe someone could correct in the comments. That's not accurate, but Bermuda did it too. But I think have stepped back just a little bit given the health concerns of people coming in and maybe, bringing transmitting COVID or, there's different reasons to bring that back. But this question is something that we're looking at, and it gets to the remote work perspective of employees maybe want to experience a different place, a nice sunny beach place for a year while they're working remotely for a company. And that creates a lot of complexity from a company perspective. So the immigration piece, this gig remote work visa may be, flexible, but it just creates a whole list of other considerations to really think about. So it's something we're watching. Absolutely.
Awesome. And
thank you.
Not a confirmed, you are correct. Isn't that nice when you hear that? Yeah, you're right. Totally right. Yep. Let's see here. This is great. We got some great stuff coming in here. Stephanie has a question here, and this is a great one for the both of you, Mariela and Gabby. Can you speak on the partnership between Global Mobility and outside counsel? How that strategic partnership is so key to advancing talent acquisition and overall company goals. Gabby, why don't you start us, and then Mariela, I'd love to hear your perspective on this.
Well, immigration in general is seen as something that's a barrier, that's difficult, that's restrictive in some respects, right? You can't just go usually to another jurisdiction or another cross-border and just, set up shop and start working. You need to go through the process. So it can be seen as a headache, so to speak, and difficult. But I think what a good outside counsel does is says, yes, there are restrictions, but let's develop a strategy that works with those restrictions and leverages them and leverages opportunities in immigration, not only for this place, but worldwide. And maybe your business goals in this jurisdiction can be met through this avenue or this way that we adhere to the compliance considerations, but also leverage some other ideas. So I'll give Mariela a chance, but I think for me it's that partnership is so critical to developing a business strategy, a broader plan to really do what you do every day, and that's sell and engage your customers and work with your customers on their needs, and that's what that partnership can yield.
I would agree with you. Gabby. Absolutely. I think it is a critical relationship as well. I think the key to having a successful relationship with outside counsel is trusting that person will guide you the right way, trusting that person will take the heavy lifting of working with those complicated laws. People in the organizations, the HR contacts, as I said, they have other things to worry about. They have to worry about moving their employees from one entity to another. Sometimes, a lot of times, through different countries, as Gabby experiences in her daily work. She doesn't have dealing with external, or internal constituents. such as the employees that need the support or are nervous, or the managers that say, look, I need this project and it needs to be done within the next 6 months and no one else can do it but this person that I have in Europe or Spain or, or, any other country, right? So Gabby needs to be able to call her counsel and say, what can we do to get this person abroad here quickly? She doesn't have time to research the law or really get into the muddied work of processing the case. She really doesn't. She has other things, other tasks that she's getting pressure points from other contacts within the organization. So I think the attorney's role really is to take on the heavy lifting, to be a support for the HR contact and the employee, and to be up to date with the law. As I said, in the age of real time, you don't want your client learning things from LinkedIn, or if they do learn from LinkedIn, you want that client to be able to call the attorney right away and say, hey, what's going on with this? I just heard this on LinkedIn. Maybe you don't know anything about it right now. But if you do, can you let me know as soon as you do? And another point with that too was the employees, right? You have to have that partnership. One of the things I often tell my L1 executives is, thanks for working on this project with us. We're a team working on this project. You just provide us with the information and we'll make sure you have an approval case. It truly is a partnership. It's not us just doing the work, but it's really, working with the employees to make them feel like it is a team effort. We're not just telling you what to do, but we're here to work it through with you. Which oftentimes, Gabby is dealing with other issues in the HR contact. She doesn't have time to walk through that coaching with the employee with regard to his case being requested for evidence.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is what you said before about calling counsel and saying, hey, I saw this. What's going on? I do that a lot. and my our partnership is absolutely incredible and good. And but I can be a bother, I think, sometimes. Hey, I heard this. What do we do? How do we think about it? So it's, that partnership is awesome and important.
Well, they're probably learning more, as much from you as you're learning from them. If you're filtering the news to them, right?
Well, they usually know. To be fair, they're in the know, but it's just it's a fun exercise to give them a call and say, hey, do you see this?
Yeah.
Oftentimes the answer is, as well as we do, because the news came out and we don't have the details yet. So it's just the current environment that we're working in.
Let's see here. We got one of my favorite comments here is from Mickey. Mickey says U.S. immigration will become easily digital around the same time teleportation is developed.
Totally, yes, fair.
Just to say, not anytime soon. Let's see here. Gosh, we got some really cool here comments here. Lana says, she confirms that Estonia, Croatia is now offering something that is we're not quite sure of yet. I think it needs to happen, and we're all waiting for this. Maybe go be a gig worker in Dubrovnik. Yeah. That could work for me. Let's see here. Monica, there's a possibility that traveling among the Baltic states may come to a halt in the next couple of days due to COVID.
Interesting. Good tip.
There you go. You heard it here first, right? Sandra Clary shouting out view from the top here, and Julia Onslow Cole, must see TV.
For sure. I agreed. Sandra, spot on. The updates on that show are incredible, and they're going to start doing tax too, just for your listeners. Really helpful.
Cool. This is awesome. There's so many great comments here. Rob, these countries having issues establishing their remote work visa programs could benefit from some global mobility experts. Ben, assemble a team. Oh, Rob, you're hilarious. It's a myth that I have free time. One thing I wanted to talk about, because I'm a big fan of Harvard Business Review, and Gabby, as we were talking about this, Gabby, did you know? I know you're a fan of HBR as well, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Did you know that I was actually published in Harvard Business Review?
Oh. That's great to know. I'll go look it up.
Don't look it up, because it'll be hard to find. I don't need you verifying it, but here it was. I captioned a cartoon.
Okay, that's fair. That's it. That's important. It's all part of the puzzle.
Yeah, it's all part of the puzzle. It's a very tiny little piece.
Yeah.
If it was missing, nobody would miss it. No, but that's funny. But no, but you were talking to me about some stuff you read on HBR that you really liked. What was one of the articles that really stuck out to you and why?
Yeah. So two in particular, I read often, again and again, just to ground me in how to advance in my own career, in my own profession, and my colleagues around me to gain ideas about this topic. And I think one in particular, I think I can't recall the name of the article, but it's something about Young and the Clueless. I think was an article published even a few decades ago, but it is so smart because basically the premise is that a lot of times companies get in trouble by promoting their young, ambitious, excited, smart, confident manager or employees into manager roles too fast. And I think that's a really good perspective as we think about each individually growing our own career as what competencies should I really know to be successful in business or law or whatever the field is. And I think it's a lot around emotional intelligence, around, self-regulation and self-awareness and, a lot of different things or factors around how do I manage situations, crisis. Like sometimes people our professionals are not maybe as trained when they need to be before they get that great promotion into a managerial role. And that article really strikes me as so fascinating as we think about what do we need to learn. And I think it is those, maybe, I don't know if you call it soft skills or emotional intelligence, but those skills are so critical to me.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you brought that up, and I'm so happy to talk about this too, because in my own career, this was the case, right? I was promoted very early at my, kind of the first company that I went to work for, and I was always chomping at the bit for more responsibility, and I was demanding more responsibility, and I thought I was so smart and everything, but I didn't have that. You talk about self-regulation. That's a great way to put it. Self-discipline is another way to put it, right? They put me in a role where I was in charge of disciplining other people before I could even discipline myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really catastrophic. I mean, it was successful in some areas, but it was catastrophic in other areas, and I couldn't get buy-in, and I couldn't get the team behind. I couldn't lead the team because I couldn't even, frankly, lead myself reliably and consistently, And now that I have kids, and now I can look at leadership in terms of how do I lead my kids, i.e., you can't tell them what to do, you have to do it, and then they will do it too. So I just think that's fascinating. I think it's such great.
Yeah, I mean, what you say about building a team and leading that team through whatever the case is, it's so true that takes such a finesse to it and such not necessarily a lot of experience, but just some awareness of how that happens and maybe how we build partnerships with our colleagues and lead them on a project. I think that's so important. Definitely, I love it.
We're kind of running over on time, so I want to go ahead and, just for the sake of time, I want to ask you, Gabby, is there a final thought that you'd like to leave us with here, our viewers here today?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough time in our industry, in our field. I think though that we are needed more than ever, and we should feel and reflect on the value we bring to our organizations. If that's an internal global mobility, our value right now, when you talk about that extended business traveler question or remote work or immigration or even talent development, the value we bring is very high. And I think that this moment shows that. And I'm so grateful to be in this field and learning every day. So that's my thought. Yeah.
And I'm so grateful you share your insight and perspective with us. And not only do you consume the content, but you also get involved and get engaged and chime in, which is fantastic. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Mariela, would you like to leave us with a final thought as well?
Sure. I'll just, add to Gabby and I's relationship. I think the one key takeaway point from my professional career has been to stay in contact with your old colleagues. They may take career paths that may be in the same field, but in a different area. Gabby has been invaluable to me as far as, encouraging me to be in the know, encouraging me to be in social media, encouraging me to network and to get that information from our partners and from different global mobility partners and people working in-house. It really is, I think, a challenging time for everyone. And one thing that as Gabby said, and one thing that I'm trying to challenge myself on or to really be mindful of is staying in contact, not just with your friends, checking in with them, but checking in with your colleagues as well. It is a very challenging time for all. We all have different stresses, whether they be professional or personal. And really, it's just a matter, I think, the way to navigate that is to maintain those relationships. Don't lose sight that someone else may be going through the same stress or maybe a different stress, but you can come together and communicate those stress levels and what works for you and what doesn't.
That's awesome. That's great. Mariela, thank you so much. Mariela Benitez, thank you so much for being here today with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm now a fan.
Gabby Bachhuber, thank you so much for being here with us. I really, truly appreciate it. And to all of the folks out there that watched and chimed in and left us with your comments and enriched the conversation, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. This is all about you, so thank you so much for being here. And then don't forget, if you're watching right now, go ahead and make sure to mark your calendar tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Myself, Tanya Maritini from Expedia Group are going to be co-hosting Love and Real, a special Move for Hunger, Hunger Action Month episode where we are going to be talking to Kroger, Sodexo, Fight Hunger Foundation, Northwest Harvest about how we can get involved in ending hunger here in the States and abroad. So go ahead and make sure to mark your calendars and be a part of that. We're going to raise over $5,000 this month. And Janet, can you throw up the t-shirts here real quick? Let's see here. If you want to go ahead and contribute, we got the t-shirts. Go buy a t-shirt, $35 donation to Move for Hunger. 100% of the proceeds forever will go to Move for Hunger if you buy a t-shirt. Check out tinyurl.com/love-and-reload t-shirt. We're going to sell 100 of these things. We're going to raise $5,000 plus. So thank you so much for your generosity. Thank you, ladies, for being here today. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.